All right, folks, we're just 2 days away from the big game between the Bengals and the Rams in the Super Bowl 56 in SoFi Stadium here at WARR Media. As we've been doing the last few weeks during the playoffs, we're going to be previewing, all the big games. We're doing it right here for Sunday's Super Bowl. I'm Lakeena McGee. You follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter and at Keena underscore McGee on the IG. And I got my buddies here. We got our own, at WARR Media's Joe Tanksley. Bears NFL reporter. Joe, where can I find you on the Twitter?
Yes, at Badman_Tanksley, Twitter and IG. And you can also find me on War Media covering the Bears and other things football.
Very cool. And our special guest this week is, oh, well, you guys know him. I don't think he really needs much of an introduction. He's a host of That's Davis and also, too, the host of the Under Center podcast on NBC Sports Chicago for the Bears on the Bears Talk. He is Kenneth Davis. Ken, how are you? Where people can find you on the social media?
You can find me at That's Davis on all social media platforms. I believe I have that snatched up. Usually if they create a platform and I don't use it, I still go and I'll grab my handle. So you can find me there. And I appreciate joining Joe and you, Lakeena. It's wonderful to be here with you too.
Oh, we're happy to have you here. And before we get to the game, of course, all the pomp and circumstance and such, you actually have had some pretty interesting interviews these last few episodes of your podcast. Your latest one you did was, of course, the one and only Bears Hall of Famer Dick Butkus, and also, too, the one before that is earlier this week with Hall of Famer head coach Tony Dungy. Now, tell us a little bit more real quick about those last couple interviews that you've done.
Tony Dungy, Tony Gill says, and Eric Strobel. So I'm going off of what they say. I get a lot out of him that other people usually don't. I'm going off of what they say. I'm not going off of me, myself. I told Tony it's called reverence with an older black person. You let them pay him some respect. Hey, it works. You go old school with it, right? But I mean,
gotta respect your elders. Respect your elders.
I mean, regardless of anything, that's Tony Dungy. When I was a young man here in the NFC Central before Tampa was taken out to the South and they made it to NFC North. And Tony Dungy was the defensive coordinator for the Vikings under Denny Green. I all I did was with my family, we ate sports often. I could go from the basement, which watched with my father to my grandmother's room to the front room with my great aunt. So Tony Dungy was a name that everyone in the house knew. I mean, you can even say prior to leaving Minnesota. Now they may have known him from his days as a player in Pittsburgh, for all I know, but just still, or a coach in Pittsburgh. Because I didn't really think about that, and Tony Dungy was breaking that down in our first interview that we did about 2 or 3 months ago. But it was great because you're talking to the person that basically the Rooney Rule was made for. During our first conversation, and I said that to him. I was like, "Wait, so the rule was basically made for you?" He's like, "Yes, the rule. I mean, that's why when you look at that family of the Pittsburgh Steelers." And Rooney, I forget which Rooney it was. I usually have the name, but I forget the older Rooney that passed, I guess, in the last decade. But regardless, so it means a lot, especially with the climate. And you have the Brian Flores situation. And, Tony Dungy's a mild-mannered type of cat. But you want to know, how do you feel about what's going on? And, I mean, sometimes, and I find it funny on ESPN when the Brian Flores news dropped, a lot of guys was just like, I'm tired. And I mean, that's how a lot of times that's kind of how I feel. It's like, it's Wednesday. Oh, it's Wednesday again. Right. So it was great. It was great to ask him about some serious stuff, especially when majority of all the black coaches in the NFL almost coached under Tony Dungy. Like when he ran that list down, it was like, I forgot, right? Like I forgot. Like when you look at Alan Williams, the Bears DC, he started off quality control in Tampa. Just think about that. Like, and I asked one of the questions I asked Tony Dungy, and I didn't think about this back when he went to Tampa, or just looking at their sideline. I never watched their sideline. I was like, damn, there's a lot of brothers on that side. I never thought that, right? But what I thought, and I asked him this question, and this is let you know how the type of character he has, because I would have done the same thing. I said, I didn't think about what I just said to you guys. I didn't think you had a lot of brothers on your sideline, but clearly you had a sideline full of brothers. One, you did that on purpose, of course. And he went into it, but he said the first thing he stopped, he said, people, I want to say this. People are getting on Mike Tomlin. I believe maybe perhaps Mike Tomlin hasn't had a black OC or DC, which he should have had one by now. I'm just going to be open with you. But because, if we get in those spots and don't, and I'm not saying Tomlin is purposely doing that. It could also be an issue where, hey, only so many of you bucks can get up in here, and that's usually how it is. Close the door. Close the door. So, but he went to protect Tomlin as you do with your friends and as your mentees. As far as he wasn't taking a shot at him, but he said I was very deliberate in filling out my coaching staff with brothers. And look at what it did. And again, you still have to hire those gentlemen. So you still need owners open-minded to hire them. And I'm not asking for handouts. I'm asking truly merit-based. But you still need to increase the channel by having more black OCs and DCs. And if we're not doing it, but see, but Mike Tomlin again set aside because Mike Tomlin has been in his job for a very long time, right?
Right.
But if you're a new coach and you don't have as the equity that Tomlin has, perhaps to do exactly what you want to do, and clearly what they don't want you to do, because if they wanted you to do it, it would be going on regularly.
Yeah,
and today was I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. I was just saying, we have 3, even though the third one doesn't want to mention that he's black, but he is mixed. We're not going to get into that.
That's kind of cringy. It's kind of cringy.
Well, I mean, look, okay, yeah. Mike McDaniel, who's new head coach with the Dolphins, caught some flack for some of his comments. Yes, his father's black. He's half black, but he's considered himself biracial, multiracial. I mean, okay, yeah, he's considered himself human. I mean, look, you're black, honey. You're at the very least half black. Like you can deny it all you want, but you're biracial. All right. So again, I'm gonna count as 3.
Don't count. Close the door to the cookout. If he doesn't want to be here, I'm tired of it. Listen, if somebody tells you they don't want to rock, let them go. To me, if that's how he's a human. He is a human being. I think we're all human beings. We're all human beings, right? I know. So I mean, you don't have to point out. Like I didn't pull up to the presser. Like, wait, is that a human being up there talking? I didn't. And as Kyle says in the chat, 2 black coaches, 1 human. Dude, if he feels that way and he doesn't want to openly say that he's part of the squad, he doesn't have to be. Let him out the door. Like I'm never for holding on to people that don't want to be held on to.
Here's the thing with him though. I think for me it kind of feels like he's picking and choosing. Just a couple of weeks later he was like, "Oh, Mike Jones," and he's picking and choosing when he wants to. Almost like code switching in a way. And
was he though? Because who really says Mike Jones like that? Right? Think about it. Really, if it's like when you're on social media and somebody's like Mike Jones, usually it's not one of us, right? Usually it's usually something like I'm just talking about social media. Like usually it's like it's a clip that's out there a lot, and I don't know if it was exactly Mike Jones, but it's like a brother and a sister, and I don't know if they arguing, but they out in the streets. And they say something to this white boy walk past, and he does like a whole verse of Mike Jones, right? Yeah, he does a whole verse. Like usually when someone inserts Mike Jones, it's not see, that's when we should have known. Hey, I'm be honest, back then, I didn't even know he was biracial back when he did that, to be honest.
Me neither.
So to me, it came off as because Tony's the first person to put me on to him. I said he's really giving me too many Pete Davidson vibes, right? Too many Pete Davidson. I was like, I didn't want him. I was good. I didn't want him. And my man, he went full go today, right? But hey, let him do what he wants to do, man. But to see, the thing is this. Remember, he said that because when he wants to creep his ass back into the cookout, hold on, like that's because sooner or later he's gonna try to use that to his advantage, in my opinion. But I'm not holding on to the bro. He don't want to be here. Let his ass go.
And that's the thing. I think for Mike Daniels, and this is just me as an outside person looking in. Mike McDaniels, I should say, but it's an outside person looking in. Like you said, we didn't even know he was black until this whole interview process was going on, and then this Brian Flores thing was happening, and the NFL was like, "Steve, look, we got one," you know. And then he's like, "Wait, wait, 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 wait."
Right. Hold.
And that's what it feels like. Wait, 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 wait. You messing up my thing here.
I never drove down a King Drive. I've never driven down a King Drive. Right.
Right. You know, I need to protect my credit score, please.
Credit karma, but
listen, that bad boy when we found out he was biracial, that bad boy went from about an 800 to like a 670. Right? It's like, I don't care.
We'll
Me personally,
like 700 even I would think, but right in the middle. We'll give him a little bit, 31 points, but
right.
Yeah, but also too, getting off that subject, you also interviewed the great Dick Butkus, and you actually learned something pretty interesting about how he's a great tweeter and everything, but you actually have some little insights on the kind of it is really him, folks. It is really him, but I'll let you explain it.
Adam Hogue, our Bears insider for NBC Sports Chicago. Make sure you check out the My Teams app to read his articles and Alex Shapiro's. And everybody over there. We got our man on the ones and twos here that works the desk over at NBC, Kyle. Adam asked him, and he came out and said that it's him and his son that are doing it, and his son, kind of, I guess, maybe brought it up to him. So it's him and his son that are taking those shots at Aaron Rodgers, and I believe his grandson or nephew or whoever's on the Green Bay staff. But yeah, that's who's doing the Twitter. But I did ask Dick Butkus about how George Halas would feel about the state of the Bears the last 35 years, and he said he'd be rolling over in his grave, and just talked about how demoralizing this season was. And I was really just trying to glean a lot of information from him that I wanted to know, because I was telling him how when most of us, everyone here, when we were younger, we wanted to get some information that we didn't have in encyclopedias. We had to know the Dewey Decimal System and take our butts to the library. And now you have kids that have, I'm looking for my phone, you have this at the palm of your hands, and they don't know any history whatsoever. And it's like, you got the libraries right here. So I was asking stuff like, I grew up seeing clips of, we've all grown up seeing Dick Butkus clips playing here as a Chicago Bear. But I was telling him how I never saw Bill George clips. Like, I don't even know how Bill George plays. I know that he was the first middle linebacker and that he came up off the line. And that's how the 4-3 was invented. But I was just saying, like, I want more. I want more. I want to know him growing up in Roseland. You know what I'm saying? A kid from the South Side. You know what I'm saying? It's just interesting to talk to someone who my elders, as far as, I thought about my dad, would have been like, damn, that's Dick Butkus. Like, that's Dick Butkus. When we talk about linebackers, that's Dick Butkus. And he was talking about, he was doing this health conscious thing as far as with obesity. And it's funny, check out the interview, because he goes ham on people being selfish. And what he's saying is people being selfish as far as not living as long as possible for themselves and their family members and settling. But yeah, he got passionate, to say the least. So it was definitely a pleasure, along with Adam Hogue, to interview Dick Butkus earlier on today.
Yeah, that's funny. Did you ask him about hang time? I remember.
I wanted to. Listen. I told him this, Joe.
That was appointment television on Saturday.
Dude, it was, right. It totally was. Wait. Who was your favorite coach though? Him or Reggie Theus?
I was more of a fan of Dick Butkus.
Really? I think I leaned with Rush Street Reggie a little bit more, as he was known here in Chicago.
Yes.
But I told him, because I couldn't, because he's in California now. He lives in California. And I was like, look, you have to come back. I need 30 minutes, right? I need 30 minutes because I need to really run through everything that I've always wanted to ask Dick Butkus. Like, that's kind of my interview style. Like, I hopefully don't try to hit on questions that everyone is asking. Sometimes it's part of the job. But I wanted to ask him about Hollywood. I want to ask him how that offset his future. I want to ask him about the hibachi that you stuffed the newspaper in. I want to ask him about that infomercial where, what I'm saying? I wanted to ask him about so many different things, but get more into his relationship with George Halas and perhaps get a couple of conversations that he hasn't told in some years. So hopefully perhaps doing this all season, he'll give us an opportunity to talk to him again. But I definitely want to ask him about hang time. I only had 15 minutes, and I stretched it out to probably like almost 20. To be honest with you.
Anthony Anderson was on that show too.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. That's what I was. But remember, because he was Reggie Theus's nephew, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So that's why I was going to say. That's another reason why I was leaning towards Reggie, because Anthony he was his nephew. So because remember the episode, he was like, "Yeah, my nephew's coming to play," and then you see this round dude come out. You're like, "What? How y'all supposed to play like that?"
Yeah. Well, it's interesting too. I mean, they didn't intertwine either, because Anthony, his character left with Reggie's character, so because they kind of intertwined. And I'll be honest, the first time I saw Dick Buckus, acting wise, was on My Two Dads. If you guys remember that show, he was there for like the last couple of years of that show. So I saw him for like the first year and a half of hang time, but I kind of tuned out because the show wasn't very good. We'll get that's a long, that's for another season, for another podcast. Previewing, talking with Mr. Ken Davis from That's Davis Show, and also to Under Center podcast on NBC Sports Chicago on the Bears side. Talking, a little bit, not just Super Bowl, but so much more. We got the NFL honors going on right now as we speak on ABC and the NFL Network. TJ Watt has won, as expected, Defensive Player of the Year. And we'll see if Devin Hester will get into the Hall of Fame. We probably won't know about that till about an hour. We might be off by the time that happens. So do you guys think he gets in this year?
I think he should get in, but I don't know if they're going to be finicky since this is his first time up. Because just still how they may view special team players, but it's not a question that the greatest return person ever should be in the Hall of Fame. I don't think we're opening the door and being like, all you return guys come in. But Devin Hester and about 4 more guys, you know what I'm saying, Mel Gray? 4 more guys should, be allowed into the Hall of Fame. But so I think he should get in, but to Lakeena, to a point, I wonder if people will hold him back this year and maybe wait till next year or the following year. But I think he should get in this because it's still too fresh in our minds, I believe.
Yeah, I agree. What do you think, Tank?
I definitely think he should get in this year. He has a lot of people making a case for him. Deion Sanders, came out and said that he definitely should be a first ballot Hall of Famer. And this is an opinion that's when it comes to football and things like, returning to football, a lot of people respect his opinion. And so, I think they changed the rules because of him. You had the game plan for him. And, he has the most return touchdowns ever. The highlight from the Super Bowl, the 108-yard field goal, missed field goal return. He has the Soldier Boy song, that became synonymous with him. So, it was funny. I tell the story right now because my son is doing a Black History Project, and he's doing his Black History Project on Lonnie Johnson. And I was just thinking, man, what if Lonnie Johnson never invented the Super Soaker? And then Soldier Boy would have never made the song that said Super Soak. And then we wouldn't have had Devin Hester. Devin Hester should be in the Hall of Fame.
But
I know. Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Peter.
No. I agree with you, Ken. Real quick that I think they're gonna wait a little bit, especially since you have Andre Johnson and Patrick Willis and those guys. I think one or both those guys might get in, and because of the fact that Hester wasn't really a wide receiver, I think Brian Greasy was the only one that actually showed Devin Hester's real skills as a wide receiver. If you guys agree. So they may
just Jay didn't care for him at wide receiver.
No.
And it was funny. I had a good conversation with Devin Hester months ago about that, as far as with Jay and just his thoughts and how passionate he was of wanting to get in. So I'm definitely rooting for Devin Hester to get in, man. He's definitely a cool brother.
Absolutely, and I'm sure if not this year, he'll definitely get in within the next year or two.
He'll definitely get in, but he should. See, let me ask you guys this.
What's up?
So you brought up Patrick Willis and you brought up Andre Johnson, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they were at times the best at their positions during their career, right? Patrick Willis, I think you have to still give Urlacher and even Ray some years before he overtook them, and then it was his, and then he retired early, actually, right?
Mhm.
And Andre Johnson really never had a quarterback, but clearly he was at one point he was a top 3 receiver, right? But one thing, and I would use this as if I was in that room for Devin Hester, the difference between Devin Hester and even those elite greats is he's the greatest. They are they were great during their era. He's the greatest ever. So
exactly,
he really should get in just off of that. But again, I don't know how they're going to go about in their decision making.
It's just crazy how that works. Now let's talk about the game for a second. Of course, we'll have more updates on that. If it breaks while we're on here, we'll give it to you guys. The big game between the Bengals and the Rams, Super Bowl 56. You have, I know some people were, kind of like, playing with house money with the Bengals. I got 4 scenarios of how this game will go. Tank, I'll start with you. Where do you think this game will go? Without doing predictions just yet, but what's sort of your breakdown of this game?
You know what? I think for this team or for these two teams, you got one team who bet the house, put all the money in, put all the chips in, and then like you said, before the Bengals are playing with house money, and no one expected them to be in this position, and so it's going to be an interesting matchup. You have the LA Rams who have been there before, and then you got the young kids on the block, and you know McVay's been there before. It's a lot of storylines. McVay's been there before, and then Zach Thomas, the coach of the Bengals, was on his staff and knows McVay very well. So, it could be some gamesmanship involved. The coaching, is going to be very important, and the strategy is going to be very important in this game. For me, I think this is, the arrival of Joe Burrow. I'm a Joe Burrow fan. I think this is his coming out party and what he's been able to do in this short amount of time in the NFL. And I've never really, this is just me personally. I've never really been a Matthew Stafford fan, and I know that there's some people out there that who are trying to put him as the missing link for the Rams to get over the hump. But a couple of weeks ago, he lost that game. Dude just dropped the ball from the 49ers. But Stafford lost that game. All right. The 49ers safety dropped the ball. The game would have been over. So for me, I'm not really a big believer in Stafford right now. So, I mean, it'll be interesting. I think the Rams definitely have more talent. But for me, it's just going to come down to how well Joe Burrow plays. And that's what I'm watching.
Ken?
I want Joe Burrow to – this is my issue. I just totally disowned Sean McVay after Tom Brady almost came back on that ass, right? They sat there, and I'm with you. Well, I have more affinity for Matthew Stafford than you, Joe. I remember when he was I'm not saying it matters. I mean, he ain't my dude, but I don't root against him. Like Detroit isn't good enough for me to really root against them. I like the city of Detroit personally. Like that Piston stuff is kind of over. I probably have more dislike of the Knicks in a way than I even do for the Pistons, and the Pistons made me cry as a young kid, right? This is when I was first falling in love with sports, right? But it's like they've been down so long. It's like, come on, dude. This is Chicago. So anyway, when Sean McVay sat there and was doing the dizzle all in the face of the Tampa Bay Bucks, then decided because Cam Akers fumbled the ball when he fell on his head right before halftime that he was going to play prevent offense in the second half. And when you sat there and you had Cooper Kupp, you had OBJ, and you had Matthew Stafford doing whatever they wanted in the passing game, and he decides to go full, we just run in and protect the score. And dude, listen, this man is unnatural. All right. Father Time still is looking for his ass. And I'm talking about Tom Brady. You have to. And I was sitting here, I was talking to Afton about this, watching the game. I'm like, what are they doing? You have to drop him in a bottomless pit. You have to take the tallest building you have and toss it upon him. You have to send all types of bombs and energy spells away. Like, you cannot take your foot off the gas or the neck of Tom Brady. Even at this age, he can still do it. And Sean McVay almost let him do it without AB or Chris Godwin. So at that moment, I said, you know what? I can't root for them anymore. But I love Aaron Donald. I love me some Aaron Donald. You know what I'm saying? That's coming from a guy that grew up watching John Randall on the Vikings and Warren Sapp. And if you tell me I had to draft I'd had to pick between all three, I'm probably right now taking Aaron Donald. And that's hard to say from a John Randall guy like I am, right? But I love Von Miller. You know what I'm saying? I want him to get another ring. You know, with Leonard Floyd, that'd be cool, I guess. But Matthew Stafford, with everything that he went through with his wife, and then when she was severely sick, being in Detroit. I mean, being in Detroit is worse than being the quarterback of the Bears. Think about that. You know how bad it is? Like, Matthew Stafford wasted his life in Detroit. And I hate saying that because I like Detroit. I'm not a Detroit hater. I actually love the city of Detroit, and I love the people of Detroit, right? Except when they move here and they want to talk crazy, and it's like, you're not even at home. All right, like, which days, you like it here. Clearly, you like this, right? But when Sean McVay did that, it kind of made me feel a certain kind of way. So my heart is with Joe Burrow. I mean, it's something about Joe Burrow, man. It's something about Mary. It's something about Joe Burrow that either you're going to love or hate this. And I'm going to get on that ship right now and just say I'm going to love it. But I do think, I know he took all that abuse from the Titans front seven, but man, these are some different dogs right here, man. And then the crazy part is one of those dogs comes straight up the middle. You know, like, and Joe, you know, Lakeena, you know, like, you can't step up. Look, he can't step up, and there's dogs on the outside. Again, this dude, and this is part of the reason, and clearly they were right to draft Jamar Chase, but this is why y'all got to go full Kansas City offensive line this offseason for Joe Burrow. Because y'all do you want him to blow his ACL again? Like, I mean, protect this man, give him a minute, and I think that will be, let me say this, that should be the undoing of the Bengals. But Joe Burrow is special, man. And I mean, Jamar Chase, we don't even talk enough about Jamar Chase because Joe Burrow is great. But we don't talk about his greatness because this is his rookie year, right? Like, just stay like these receivers. Sometimes receivers just pop through the door, but historically, it takes receivers some time to kind of really catch up. This is rookie year. And yes, they're teammates from the past, but still, he's stepping up on a whole new level and he's playing like he's still in the SEC. You gotta love the SEC.
The 9 sacks thing. I mean, that still kind of rubs me the wrong way. The fact that the Titans were not able to pull that out, you know, and the defense did their job. Now it's going to be a totally different story, and you know, we'll see what happens. We'll talk about that in a second. But we've got, you know, Vic Chokshi joining us. He is the senior editor for gambling for Fox Sports. What's up, Vic? How are you? Where can people find you on social media?
What's going on? Pleasure to be on. Thank you for having me. You can find me at DocSquad33 on Twitter.
All right, Vic. What is sort of like the hot bets, hottest, prop bets going into this Super Bowl?
Yeah, so as you know, you can literally bet on anything and everything in the Super Bowl, right? So, what color the Gatorade, the coin toss, the length of the national anthem. So, I personally definitely get in on those for a couple of bucks just for fun, having some drinks. But I'm definitely on some bigger bets. And so however you guys want to do this, I can lay out, some of the bets that I love and the reasons why, or, we can go down some of the offerings. So you tell me, what are you guys feeling?
Well,
go for it,
for somebody like me, I'm not really a big gambler. So when I do bet, I like to look for value. What are some of the, the good value bets out there where people can, wager small amount of money and possibly get some big wins?
Yeah, so I love that, man. And honestly, you don't have to be a big gambler to get in the game anymore, right? So the way I see it, even if you bet $5-10 on a game, spend 3 hours, it's like the price of a movie ticket, and you're just having fun, and it just elevates the night a little bit, right? But to your point, I actually would look at the Super Bowl MVP market because there's a nice little payout there if you can pick a long shot. And, as we've seen in games past, a lot of things can happen and crazy things happen, especially in the Super Bowl. So, take Von Miller, for example. To answer your question, that's a guy that I think might be worth sprinkling a couple of bucks. You can get him at some places 40 or 50 to 1 to win Super Bowl MVP. So he's won MVP in the past. As Kenneth and you guys talked about, they're Cincinnati Bengals O-line is a disaster, and the Rams have the best D-line in the game. So if Von Miller forces a couple of fumbles, gets a touchdown return, dominates just like he's been doing in the playoffs, a $10 bet can turn into a $400 or $500 lotto ticket, right? So, that's one of the long shots that I would definitely look at, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Can he get any
I don't think Devin has to get got in, y'all. Somebody just text me.
Are you serious?
Really?
Yeah, somebody just hit me up and was like,
right.
they F Devin over, my buddy. Somebody just texted me. Shout out to Phil Latosha from TTNL. Yeah, so from that text, I don't think maybe he got in. Hopefully I'm wrong.
Yeah.
What's up, Vic?
What's going on, man? Always fun to talk to you. That's disappointing because obviously he's the GOAT, and literally they changed the rules of the league for this guy. And so if that doesn't tell you something that he is the best at that position, I don't know what does, right? So I hope you're wrong. I hope the texter is wrong.
I hope I'm wrong. Listen, I hope I'm wrong. So,
or like they're still like revealing the names or something.
Perhaps. Right. But knowing this text, it probably may be right. But look, let's go with the best value. Or I don't know if you went into the best value bets just now. Sure. So if you did, let's go into the bets that you dislike the most and why.
Yeah. Well, so the Von Miller one's one of my like long shot bets that I love. Now, I'll tell you a couple of bets that I've already made, but I'll premise that by saying I had the Bengals to win the Super Bowl before the playoffs started. So I got them at a really, really nice price. And so that changes my mind a little bit personally as to like how I'm going to bet the game, right? So just to ensure that I win some money, I'm probably going to take a little bit of money on the Rams. And then that way I make sure I come out on top in this game, right? And so that's just when it comes to the game itself. I can lay out a couple of my favorite bets for you guys, give you a couple of reasons why, but everyone's talking about, obviously, the Bengals O-line against this Rams D-line, right? It's the biggest mismatch there is. And, of course, the Bengals know this. They're going to try to do something to combat this. They're not just going to drop this guy back and get him killed, right? And hopefully. And so how are some ways we can do that? Get the ball out quickly, screens, dump to your running backs,
run it back,
right? And so the backs have been used a lot. And so those are two of my favorite prop bets that I like. Is I actually like Joe Mixon to have over 25.5 receiving yards and P. Ryan to have over 9.5 receiving yards. So again, they're going to use the running backs. They're going to use the screen game. If they're back in the second half and they're going to have to come back, if the team's playing a prevent, they'll get some dump passes, right? But Mixon's gone over that number in 5 straight games. So I really like the backs to get involved in this game. So those are my two favorite prop bets. I also like Joe Burrow to have over 11.5 yards rushing. So kind of the same premise, right? He's going to either be running for his life or coming back in the second half. And he's a super athletic dude. So if they do get pressure on him consistently, he can't find someone downfield. He might just take off and have a couple of runs, right? So, 11.5, again, seems like a very reasonable value bet to me, where I realistically think all three of those guys can hit those maybe in the early second half. And so I'm always looking for an edge, kind of like Joe said, like where can you find the value? So you got to dig deep through all of these numbers, right? So those are three that I really like. Another one on the Rams side I like is Sony Michelle over 16.5 rushing yards. So low number. Again, I think McVay comes out conservative in the first half. He did that in the last Super Bowl, run the ball. Yes, Cam Akers is back, but again, he's coming off of a big injury. I think we're going to see a steady dose of both running backs. And so 16.5 yards again. And if they're up in the second half, what are they going to do? They're going to run the ball. So Stafford's been really, really loose with the ball all season long. Yes, he's been doing really well in the playoffs, but I think McVay is going to try to just play conservative. He knows that they're going to dominate the trenches. If they can just get up a little bit and run the football to put the game away, that's another reason why I like Sony Michelle, 16.5 yards. And then Cooper Kupp. Everybody's on Cooper Kupp for everything, right? He's the most bet-on guy in this game. I don't want to get into kind of doing what everybody does, but there is one Cooper Kupp prop that I like, and it's over his longest reception in the game. And so basically you're looking for Cooper Kupp to kind of take a deep ball, like a deep bomb, or take a slant and go kind of thing, where basically if you can get him to have one big pass, it's over 26.5 yards receiving. Sorry, my computer froze for a second. But basically a reception has to be longer than 26.5 yards to Cooper Kupp. So I see him getting plenty of opportunities throughout the game on a couple of deep balls, and then he's literally one of the best receivers after the catch, right? And so if he can just take a little slant, a bubble screen, and go, that also counts as over 26.5 yards, right? So, those are kind of my 5 favorite prop bets. I did take Von Miller to win Super Bowl MVP because that was a nice little long shot that Joe was talking about. And again, if the Bengals win, I'll be a very happy man because I have a sizable chunk of money I can win if they win. And honestly speaking, the only reason I took that bet is because I really thought that they would win the first game. I didn't think that they would make it this far. I just thought they had that first game in the bag. So I thought I was just getting a good number more than anything. And then luckily they caught fire at the right time because of Joe Burrow, right? And so it's going to be a fun game in my opinion. I also think if you guys are into kind of trends and those kind of things historically, first halves of Super Bowls always start off slow. People are nervous. People are amped up. Coaches are conservative. They run the ball a little bit. They have scripts, right? And so the first half under is another bet that a lot of people, if you're looking to make and you're okay with just kind of sweating it out a little bit, I think that first half under is another reasonable play for sure.
Vic, can I ask you a question? I'm sorry, Lakeena, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Vic, let me ask you something real quick. Now, you said that you took that Bengals bet because of how the odds were basically set up. They were favorable. Now, but you said you thought they would probably just win the first game. Because I'm naive, but like my executive producer Ryan, we had a conversation about you the other day, and I was like, yeah, we need to talk to Vic about some bet stuff. All right. So, but my question is, would you have won any money from them winning that first game, or was it just still the value was too good for you to pass in general, and you weren't going to win any money if they didn't get to the Super Bowl?
Great question. No, so I wouldn't have won any money unless they got to the Super Bowl, but I watch all the games, right? And so another big thing that I'm into now is called live betting. And so you can literally, while watching a game, after someone else scores, you can then bet during the game and find ways to kind of hedge out of some of these futures bets, if that makes sense. So my bet was just on them to win the Super Bowl straight up. Okay. Another bet I had, I'll give you guys an example, is the Niners to win the NFC. I had a huge ticket on them because, again, I thought they were going to win that first game. I thought they matched up well with Green Bay. But in that last game against the Rams, I took the Rams to hedge a little bit to make sure that I won regardless, right? Because if the Niners won, I would have won that big lotto ticket. If not, I made a little bit of money taking the Rams. So that's pretty much what I'm going to be doing, the same thing here. Now, I have a decision to make. So the Rams are minus 200 on the money line. What that means is, say you're a $10 bettor. You can bet $20 on the Rams to win $10, basically. Or you can bet on the Rams at minus 3.5, which means the Rams have to win by more than 4 points. If I take that second bet and the Rams win, but they win by less than 4, I would lose both of my tickets, right? Because I would lose my Bengals to win the Super Bowl, and then I would lose because the Rams didn't cover the spread. So my decision is, do I take the Rams to the spread? Do I take them on the money line? Or do I wait in game and see if that number comes down a little bit? Like, basically, if the Bengals score first, I might be able to get the Rams at plus money to win the game. And then I'm just sitting on 2 basically lotto tickets, essentially, right? So there's a lot of like strategy involved. It's a lot of years of losing money, to tell you the truth, right? Because like everything else in life, it's a learning experience. But been doing this for so long, I don't actually make a lot of risky plays anymore. For me, it's more kind of finding long shots like Joe was talking about, finding some value bets, using statistics, and then trying to hedge out and use live betting to where I can at least make a little bit of profit or I can break even, right? That's kind of the main goal. Because if gambling was easy, we'd all be chilling on an island.
Yes.
Like we wouldn't be on the podcast, right? Like, and that would be everybody, right? So, to me, I really do think it makes games more fun. It should be used for entertainment. Do not use your paychecks on these things. And trust me, I've been there before, right? And it's so. But if you can be smart about it, listen, we all know sports. It's kind of like fantasy football in a way, especially this prop betting. So if you're into fantasy, kind of use your knowledge from that and get into prop betting a little bit. You don't have to bet on the game or the size or the total, or get on futures. Futures are fun because you can bet on a team to, win the NFC, win the Super Bowl, win MVP. And so, for example, like next year, I like Justin Herbert to win MVP. I think that he's probably going to be at like 30-1. And so if you bet $10 on him to win MVP, you can win $300, right? And so he showed a lot of flashes this year. They got a new coach. I think they get better. Their offense gets better. They'll be more competitive. There was a lot of games that they should have won, and they literally lost on the last play of the last game of the season, right? And so to me, again, so those are some of the ways that I try to bet on games and find value. But the Super Bowl is definitely kind of an anomaly. It's just there's so many things you can bet on. So I do go overboard and, break my rules a little bit just to have a little bit of fun. And, I'll bet on the national anthem and the coin toss and what color is the Gatorade going to be and stuff like that.
Wait, do they have one? Do they have one for who the halftime show people that haven't been announced are going to pop out? Because I'm feeling like Warren G. A few, like I was like, where are those prop bets at? Because I'm interested in those.
You're right, man. So yes, you can literally bet on everything, and you can bet on stuff like that. So for those kind of bets, you have to go to offshore books, right? So you're talking about like Bovadas and some of these ones in Costa Rica, because the rules are a little bit stricter here in the States, right? So, for example, even Las Vegas casinos can't offer kind of novelty props. So they don't do the anthem, they don't do the Gatorade and some of those things. So it's state to state. There's a lot of new rules and regulation because it's still kind of picking up steam here in America. It's not like around the world, but yes, if you want to bet on that kind of stuff, you can, but you'd have to get kind of a offshore account, if that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Well, yeah. So, Vic, I think for people who are like new to gambling, like myself, I mean, what's the parlays? What's sort of like the hot parlays? Is it more towards going to be a high scoring game? Is it going to be a low scoring game? Like, what's sort of like the trend, among the betting for point spreads?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So when it comes to parlays, the way I think about it is, so first definition of parlay is you're basically betting on a combination of things to happen. And that's why the payout is a lot more, right? So, if you take one thing, you pretty much put up $11 to win $10. I'm just using $10 as an example. But say you bet on 3 things to happen in the game, you'd get paid out 7-1 essentially. So if you put $10 and then you bet on these 3 things and you put them into a parlay, you'd get $70 back, right? But to answer your question, the way I personally do parlays is to try to use some logic, use some strategy, and try to find some correlation. So basically, what does that mean? If you think the Rams win in a blowout, then you might want to take the Rams minus 3.5 and the over, right? Because, maybe you think that they're going to be in a shootout and they're going to score and they're going to wax these guys. On the flip side, if you think it's going to be a low-scoring game, then maybe you take the Bengals, right? And you think like, hey, they grind out a win. And so that's kind of my mindset when it comes to betting on parlays. But to answer your question, if there's a parlay that I personally like, I like the Bengals in the under. I think the Bengals will keep it close. You can shop around and get them at plus 4.5 right now. So that's another big thing for just people that are starting off, like have multiple sports books, right? Create a couple of different accounts, because one book might have Rams minus 3.5. The other book might have them at minus 4.5. Now, why is that so important? If the Rams win by 4, basically you have different outcomes for both of those bets, right? And so if you want the Bengals, you want to try to get 4.5. If you want the Rams, you want to try to get 3.5, if that makes sense. But basically, you can get Bengals for 4.5, and you still get the total around 50, depending on what book you're shopping at. And so to me, I think both coaches come out conservative. I see a low scoring first half at least, and then it'll open up in the second half. But to me, I really do think everyone's going to be on the Rams come game time because of the offensive line, defensive line conversation that everybody's having, right? And so we've seen crazy things in the Super Bowl time and time again. But again, I'm just riding the hot hand in Joe Burrow, and I think he keeps it close. And the best part about Joe Burrow and Chase is they can score in an instant. And so they can be down 10 points in this game. The game could be over. The Rams could just be cruising. They're happy to win. They're celebrating. And you get a backdoor touchdown from Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase in like a minute, right? Just while the clock is winding down. So, you know, I try to take that kind of stuff into basically my mindset too, is like, we've seen the Bengals get down time and time again. Every game, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase don't break a sweat. They have the confidence. They come back, they play to the end, and they have the ability to score super quickly at the end. And so that's why I think taking the points is a valuable side in this one.
You guys got any other questions for Vic?
No, I don't, but I will talk to you in the future, sir.
Anytime you guys want to have me on, or I love having fun on Twitter too. So like, hit me up on Twitter. Anybody listening at DocSquad33. Any questions you have, if you want to learn about gambling, all that kind of stuff, hit me up anytime. I love it. It's something that I enjoy. I work in the space. Again, don't go spending your entire paycheck on a lot of these kind of things. Have fun with it. Try to think of it like a movie ticket, right? You go to the movies, you spend 10, 12 bucks, 20 bucks with some food, and you have 3 hours of fun. Here, you can watch for 3 hours, and you might win some money off of it, right, as well. So, let me know for sure on Twitter. Hit me up at any time.
All right.
No doubt.
All right. Yeah. At DocSquad33 on Twitter. That's Vic's Twitter account. Like he said, he'll give you answers whatever questions you guys need. And remember to, folks, gamble responsibly. That's sort of the key here. So thank you, Vic, so much for joining us. We'll enjoy the game this Sunday, and we gotta do this again.
Yeah, I'd love to. I always love talking Bears with Kenneth, and it's awesome seeing him blow up, man. Talking to Tony Dungy, getting in on the show.
How many jobs have you had now, sir? How many different places since I've met you have you gone to some place like you're like blah, 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 like, all right, sir. All right, sir.
Thank you, sir. But I always remember meeting you on that show, man. It was fun, and I was
talking about that this past week. I was like, I think I met Vic at Sports Feed.
We did.
Right?
We met on Sports Feed.
I was like, I think I met on Sports Feed, and ever since I was like, we've always been cordial, always big each other up. Vic, is everyone here. I always enjoy seeing you blow up, man, and keep it up. And like I said, I'll talk to you, but man, really proud of you, man, and keep going, Vic. Keep running that race, bro.
Thank you, sir. Same to you guys. Take care.
All right, you too. Thanks, Vic. Stay safe. All right.
That's a solid one right there.
He is. He seems like a really good dude. So make sure you guys hit him up. If you guys think parlays, he'll answer whatever question you guys have for him. Now, as we finish up here, gentlemen, you don't have to really necessarily say the final score because we tried that last year with Bucks and Chiefs and that didn't go over very well. So just say who you think wins and why. Ken, I'll start with you.
I want Joe Burrow. I don't like betting against Joe Burrow because this may be the only time in our lives where you can do that before he gets some linemen in front of him. Then it's going to be like, oh, well, then just the Bengals are actually perennially great, that would be weird, right? I was too young for Boomer Esiason and that run with Icky and all that mess back then. But even though I don't want to do it because of Sean McVay, and it's interesting listening to what Vic said. I'll say this. If what Vic says that Sean McVay is going to play a conservative, the Rams are going to lose. I'm gonna tell you that right now. So I'm going with the Rams because I hope that Sean McVay will wake up. But from what he did against Tampa, I'm sure he's able to play the fool again, and you have to score. You have to score on that. Joe Burrow has some Brady in him, all right, and you have to pal and pal and pal. So in hopes that they do that, or they just hurt. I don't want that man to get hurt, but he's just beat up from that front seven of the Rams. I'm gonna go with the Rams, but my heart tells me to go with the Bengals because I don't trust Sean McVay.
Tank.
Who they? I'm going with Burrow in the Bengals, and one of the reasons I'm going with the Bengals is I had the opportunity to listen to a Joe Burrow interview, and I forget who was interviewing him, but he was talking about not taking this moment for granted, and he knows that he's young, and this is a moment that people didn't really give him credit for being there. So, and it's not a given that he's going to get back to a Super Bowl. So to kind of have that kind of mindset, 23, 24 years old and having a whole career ahead of you, he's going to be motivated. That team's going to be motivated because they follow him, they believe in him, and he's going to get them past the Rams. I just have a feeling like that. You know what I'm saying? I do think it's going to be a close game. I do think that he's going to get beat up, but I think he finds a way to get them over the hump.
I'm not going to do my predictions just yet. You guys got to tune in tomorrow at noon for Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago that I do with our buddy Cindy Brown. But I will say this. It could be 3 or 4 ways this game goes. Either the Rams will out the Bengals. I don't think that's going to happen. Evan McPherson, not just another game-winning field goal, and he's in forever Super Bowl lore. Rams win pulling away, or Burrow, does a scoring drive that leads to a touchdown, and they end up winning it. Those are the only 4 ways it can go. Now, either one of those scenarios could happen. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I know that I'm sure Vic's probably getting a lot of bets at saying that maybe it's probably going to end up being a blowout. I don't think that's going to be the case. But I'm leaning towards more my third scenario, my second scenario, and that is that the Rams pull away late. I think it'll be a close game. I think the Bengals might get an early lead, but I think late, the Rams are going to kick it into gear. Something happens, like a Aaron Donald, strip sack, or maybe a Ramsey pick 6 or something. I think something happens that kind of breaks the game open. That's just, again, I could change my mind tomorrow when we do our picks. So tune in, That's a little teasier for you. But yeah, I think that's probably what happens.
I'll say this real quick. I know some people have said that the fact that, it's California and it's a transient state, that perhaps the Rams won't draw enough fans in the building. Plus, it's a Super Bowl, so it's not like you can just walk up to the window and grab a ticket like that.
Right.
But one, the Rams did play in Los Angeles before, but more importantly, this is going to be the most West Coast Super Bowl ever. Mm-hmm. So even fake West Coasters are going to be rooting for the Rams once Dre, Snoop, Kendrick, Eminem, and Mary J. Blige pop on the stage, and who else? Because they're going to bring some people out there, y'all. So I think you could see Ice Cube. It's going to be like
you could probably see who else? Like you said, Warren G. You could see
Ren and Ice Cube.
They're going to bring some old acts out and probably some new. So I'm just saying that, man, it's going to be popping in that in SoFi. So I think the crowd will perhaps be leaning towards the Rams, but still, I just think I could be wrong. I think it's early. I think now that the glass slipper kind of comes off of Joe Burrow just for this game. And I'm not saying he's going to have a terrible game, but just that miracle ride from LSU and then blowing the ACL and then coming back, I think it's going to slip off here, and the Rams should beat them. But again, Sean McVay's their head coach.
All right. So, okay. I'm just hoping that we get a better game than last year. Like, as long as it's a better game than last year, which hopefully that'll be the case, we're already well ahead of the game.
I don't know, Lakeena, because the offensive line, even though he has his tackles, is basically like Kansas City's line last year, basically. Yeah. So I think people. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just think that Aaron Donald's probably gonna be like a man possessed. Like
Exactly.
I think that's going to be the thing. Like, oh, if he gets to Burrow early, like, oh yeah, he might as well forget it. Ugh, gosh.
Yeah.
And also too, I find it interesting too. Mary J. People are making a big deal about, oh, Mary J. Blige is only doing one song, blah blah blah. But let's remember too, folks, it's only 12 minutes. They only have 12 minutes, 12 to 15 minutes. So I think people who are upset that Mary J. is only doing one song, but you got
Does it have to be a Dre produced song? Because I don't want to hear "Let's Get It Thumping." Like, I don't like. I don't want to hear that. Like us Mary J. fans, we like put that. We never like. Yeah, we never like put that song on. Like, no,
the
man.
dancery song.
I want,
that dancery.
Dance with me. Let's get it perky. I don't want to hear that. All right. I want to hear real love. Damn it. All right.
Yes.
So I'm going down. Give me some Mary J. Let me be in my feels if you gonna pull Mary J. out.
You know it's gonna end up being family affair, like our buddy Kyle said. It's gonna be family affair because, like you said, it's just Jay co-wrote and produced it. So I guess they gotta keep with the theme here. Usually these halftime shows have a theme, so they gotta, it's Dre. You got Dre produced songs, and I'm sure it's gonna be.
I know it is, but I'm against it, Lakeena. I'm against it.
I know.
I'm letting everybody know I'm against it.
Yeah. What about you, Joe? You have any thoughts on this real quick?
You know what? I'm just excited to see, the halftime show. I mean, this is, I'm a Drake fan. I'm a Kendrick fan, Snoop Dogg fan, Mary J. fan. So I'm excited to see them up there all at the same time. So I'm wondering how many times we're gonna hit the censor button, that beat button.
Whoever's in charge of that, they for NBC, I know they're gonna have it ready. They're gonna have that censor button ready.
Like
Morse code.
Okay.
Right.
I got a prop bet for y'all, and I'm done. What's the odds of Snoop smoking weed out during the halftime show?
That's a hot bet too. That's a hot bet too. The people.
I mean, it's legal there. I mean,
it's legal. It's legal.
Yeah, it's legal. So what? I know. Yeah, he
kind of has to. I mean, it's funny, kind of
right?
It would be fitting. Like Mary J has a new album coming out. He doesn't have the catalog, but he has the name Death Row Snoop, right? Mm-hmm. So it's funny. Like everyone has this stuff that's popping. He may come out, had a Snoop strain out there, but I'm just interested because he's the Willie Nelson of our generation. He should probably take a toke while he's out there.
Oh yeah, come on. I'd be surprised if he didn't smoke a weed, but smoke that
Cow.
pack.
Smoke that Suge pack.
Oh boy.
He got the okay from Suge. He got the okay from Suge to get that throwback. Don't even get that twisted. Suge are cool now. They've been cool before Suge went to jail.
Yeah, they're fine. They squashed that beat like years ago, so I don't think it's going to be a big issue there. All right, on that note, you can follow me at Lakeena McGee on the Twitter and at Lakeena_McGee on the IG. You can also tune in to Second City Sports tomorrow and every Friday and Monday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Time with myself and our buddy Cindy Brown. All right, Tank, where can people find you on the social media streets?
Once again, at Badman_Tanksley on Twitter and IG. And you can check me out here on WARR Media talking about Bears, football, and all the other kind of stuff.
And
go Bengals.
You can find me at the That Davis Show, always Under Center Podcast, and my independent show along with Ryan Bukovetsky, That Davis Show. And also, we're going to do some more flip stuff, and I'm going to start involving a myriad of you other people involved in that as we try to kind of revigorate and change up some of the stuff that we were doing in the past. So appreciate you guys bringing me on. I always look forward to talking to you guys in the future.
All right, look, anytime, Ken, you and Ryan, or even for the flip, I'm there. Okay. Just let me know.
I'm gonna hold you to that, Lakeena. I'm gonna hold you to that one.
I'm a woman of my word.
Remember you said it. Remember you said it.
Hey, I'm a woman of my word, Ken.
Okay.
All right, so of course, at WARR Media, you can listen to this and watch us, on YouTube, also too on Anchor, wherever you get your podcasts as well. So enjoy the game, everybody. Be safe out there. Don't overdo it if you are going to gamble. Don't overdo it, folks, as Vic said earlier. So for Ken and Tank, I'm Lakeena. This has been WARR Media NFL Playoffs Preview Special, the big game. Enjoy the game Sunday, everybody, and we'll talk to you later. Peace.